One wonders what the Audi A5 Sportback does that the A4 sedan doesn't do, aside from look prettier and haul more luggage at the expense of some backseat space. But then you drive it, and it does so many things well. The turbocharged 2.0-litre inline 4 is one of the best of its ilk, the chassis is buttoned down, the interior is well turned out, and the electronics are both modern looking and easy to use. High's hatchback versatility, athletic chassis, well-realized technology. Low's tight back seat, unsettled highway ride, annoying electronic shifter. Sportback is Audi's euphemism for hatchback, at least as it is applied to the brand's compact four-door. In the same way that the larger A7 hatchback is derived from the A6, the A5 Sportback is related to the A4 sedan. The success of the A7 doubtless emboldened Audi to send us the latest A5 Sportback after denying the US market the previous generation version. The A7 also set the tone thematically for the A5 Sportback. That means a lower roofline by 1.6 inches in this case and sleeker styling with a faster sloping backlight than you'd see on the A4, yet a lot more utility than you'd get in the two-door A5 coupe. Like the A7, the A5 Sportback also is pricier than its lower-numbered sedan sibling, the better to ward off any whiff of the economy car hatchbacks that some shoppers might remember from the 1970 Serra fuel crisis. The A5 Sportback is $2,100 more expensive than its mechanically identical A4 counterpart, while the six-cylinder S5 commands a $3,000 premium over the S4. The gulf between A4 and A5 widens when you consider that the A4 is available in a lower horsepower front-drive ultra-trim level that the A5 doesn't bother with. To the A5 Sportback's $43,575 base price, our test example added the top-spec Prestige Trimmer level package for $7,600. Among its many niceties are heated 8-way power front seats, blind spot monitoring, LED headlights, Bang & Olufsen audio, a top-view camera system, a head-up display, navigation, and Audi's virtual cockpit digital instrument cluster. We were further assisted by the driver assistance package $1,800 with its adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, traffic sign recognition, and automatic high beams. An adaptive suspension, heated rear seats, a heated steering wheel, high-gloss walnut trim, and moonlight blue metallic paint brought the total to $55,400. Turbo fortitude these days. Turbocharged 2.0-litre inline 4s are ubiquitous, but Volkswagen Audi has had longer experience with this engine type than most, and it shows. There isn't a flat spot in this engine's power band. A healthy 273 lb-ft of torque is on tap from 1600 rpm, and throttle response is measured and predictable. The engine is paired exclusively with a 7-speed S-tronic dual-clutch automatic. Unfortunately, the 6-speed stick that can be had in the A4 and A5 coupe isn't offered. The good news is that the dual-clutch transmission rarely guesses wrong. Despite the lack of a torque converter, the S-tronic is generally smooth in low-speed operations. Only once did we catch it fumbling in a high throttle situation. We're not fans of Audi's gimmicky electronic gear shift, however, it doesn't move through detents but only toggles forward and back, with park accessed via a push button. Once underway, the 252 horsepower turbo 4 and dual clutch box make for robust acceleration. 60 miles per hour comes up in 5.3 seconds, and the quarter-mile passes in 14.0 seconds at 100 miles per hour. Those times are exactly 0.1 second behind our figures for the 87-pound lighter A4 sedan with this same powertrain. It's also not terribly far off the V6-powered S5 Sportback we recently tested, which has an additional 102 horsepower on tap and another 96 lb-ft of torque. That model reaches 60 in 4.3 seconds and blasts through the quarter-mile in 12.9 at 108 miles per hour. More to the point, the A5 Sportback outhustled the last BMW 428 Tiguan Coupe we tested a rear driver by 0.2 seconds to 60 and also by 2 ticks in the quarter-mile. Our A5 Sportback was equipped with Audi's adaptive air spring suspension $1,000, which includes selectable driving modes. Rolling on 18-inch wheels with 40 series tires, it doesn't have a harsh ride, but there's room for improvement in its ability to mask disturbances at highway speeds, which are acknowledged with a short kick and sometimes accompanied by a brief lateral body motion even with the driver mode selector in comfort. On smooth freeways, we also encountered some small amplitude body motions, up and down as well as lateral, that made the A5's tracking something short of laser-like. The various modes do little to affect chassis response, although dynamic adds a welcome measure of tautness to the steering without unduly raising efforts. It's the ideal choice for curvy roads, which the A5 tackles with aplomb despite its nose-a-heavy layout. The standard all-wheel drive system defaults to a 60% rear torque bias, but it constantly varies the flow between front and rear axles as conditions dictate. The A5 exhibited plenty of stick on our skid pad 0.94 grams, besting the A4 0.90 and the 428i 0.89. Braking also was impressive, with the Sportback coming to a halt from 70 miles per hour and 159 feet and the pedal both firm and easy to modulate. Screen scene: the interior isn't flashy, well, apart from the screen-based, configurable instrument cluster, but the materials are all of high quality. The MMI controller with its drawing recognition is surprisingly useful for entering addresses or finding contacts, and the system's predictive logic is sharp enough that you really have to spell out the whole thing. This isn't an interior where extreme aesthetics banish all buttons, and it's the better for it. Audi's combination of click wheel controller, physical buttons, touchpad, and steering wheel controls is nicely realized. And shout out to the front seats, which are firm but nicely sculpted, offering decent lateral support without being confining. The Sportback's squashed roofline does constrict the view out, the backup camera is essential, and it also makes for a more confining rear seat than in the sedan, to the point that there's a marginal conveyance for 4 adults on a long trip. The upside is the hatchback's more generous cargo room, 22 cubic feet behind the rear seats, 35 with the rear seat backs folded. The A4 sedan and A5 coupe have just 13 and 12 cubic feet in their trunks, respectively. It also scores some serious Junior A7 style points. Overall, this is an extremely well-executed premium four-door with the added flair and function of a shapely hatchback body style. But it's best enjoyed by 2 rather than 4.